I'm Allie. I came out after 20 years of marriage, and I have 3 kids.
I'm Melissa, and I have 2 kids, and I came out at 37 after an 11-year marriage.
This podcast is about coming out later and the struggles and victories that come with it.
When coming out feels like the end of the world, but it's really just the beginning.
This is the Lesbian Chronicles. Welcome to the Lesbian Chronicles. We're here.
Hello, my friend.
I know. I thought I was going to be with you live.
I know. I'm like literally 10 minutes away, but I was like,
I know you're
Zoom.
in my neighborhood. How are you not here?
I'm enjoying my lazy Friday. I didn't have to work today.
There you go.
I've been hanging out at home. I worked out at 7 a.m. That never
What?
happened. Yes.
Is
It's Marina's fault.
Did you go to your cult classic?
I went to the training room, which is actually a lesbian-owned gym in Atlanta. So,
well, you know, I remember when
the training room.
When Melissa started her, well, first let's introduce our great guest, and then I'm going to tell you how how Melissa picks gyms is based on how many lesbians she thinks will go to the she thinks will be at that gym.
It failed miserably.
It did fail miserably.
But yes, we have Perrie Voss on with us today. Those of you who have seen Avocado Toast know exactly who we're talking about. So
yes,
we very much appreciate you coming on today, Perrie.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here with you guys. I've listened a lot, so this is very cool to be on the other side of it now. It's very cool.
I love your show. Like I'm a fan.
Yes.
I love it so much.
Thank you.
I sort of it reminds me of a couple different shows, but one show that I love is a show called Broad City. And then layered in with lesbians, it's like my double threat of like, I know I'm going to love this because those are like my 2 favorite types of shows, and like
Amazing.
It comes together in Avocado Toast. It's hilarious and good.
Thank you. It was a labor of love, and I'm so glad that we put it out there, and like the response has just been incredible, because you never know when you put stuff out into the world if people are gonna be like, why did you make that?
Yeah, what the you weirdo. Yeah.
So it's been fairly unanimous. I mean, there's a few people out there that, you know, are homophobic or whatever, you know,
they don't get it.
They are. They don't get it, but it's honestly just been a real unanimously like big love fest. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's awesome.
How long does it take? Like you come up with an idea, and then how long till it's a show? Like talk to me about what happens.
I think there's such a huge variable, and there's no, as far as I know, there's no actual formula, because depending on who you pitch and how you're pitching and who says yes, it can be like anywhere from, you know, a couple months to get it going to like years. Like I think the Game of Thrones people took a decade to get their show off the ground.
Wow.
Which is wild.
More.
I know.
It's wild. Right?
I know.
And I mean, that's a slightly different scale than what we made, but
Right.
just slightly. But no, like for us, we had this idea. It was an initial concept that we'd never made anything on television before. So like we have theater backgrounds. So for us, we were like, I don't know. And we just sort of started putting tipping our toes over the edge and being like, is anything there? And then, so I think, you know, it took probably 4 years in total to get, or maybe not quite that long, 2-3 years to get like the first season off the ground.
Wow.
And then, like it's crazy how long things take in between. But yeah, I'd say for the first season, I think we started writing it in like 2016 or 17. And I think we launched it in 2019.
It's amazing. And it's based on your life.
It is.
Yeah.
It's based on my life and my co-writer Heidi's life. And we met doing a play actually. And she realized that I think just that year that she was bisexual, and she was in her late 20s, and she's like, why am I just figuring this out now?
Yeah.
And then my parents, out of the blue, got divorced. While we were on this gig, I got a call from my mom that was just like world flipping upside down, life changing, that they were getting a divorce. And we decided to sort of laugh about it as much as we were crying about it together. And
right.
I think in that, just like knowing that we had this chemistry, we were like, I think there's something here. Like there's something that is transportive in this relationship. So,
and were you in the process of your parents are getting divorced? Were you already at that point an out gay woman?
No,
No,
that's the
okay,
other crazy
you
thing.
were still okay.
Oh, wow.
I was still, and I was like a very late, like talk about late in life coming out. Like I think I was 35, which when were you guys around that age?
I was 36, 37. And
Yeah.
Allie, how old were you?
I was getting closer to 40. I was like 38, 39.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, I mean, I at the time was 31. And I remember it was one of those things, and I'm sure we'll get into more of this, but it's like whenever I met someone, a woman specifically, who was queer, whether it was bi or lesbian, it was just like my little, like,
Yeah.
I was like, hi.
I know.
Yes.
Even if they're not like, you're not
Like, you
attracted
wanted
to
to be their
them.
best
It's like, I still
friend.
want to be your best friend. I
just
still,
wanna-
yeah.
Exactly. I was
Totally.
like, take me to your people. Like,
Yes.
I would just
And
have
that
my
kind of
little,
circles back to what we were saying at the beginning about the gym thing. Like that was my
Yeah.
initial thought. I joined CrossFit because I was like, where's the most likely place that I'll find lesbians?
CrossFit.
And I need to know one. Like I need some answers here. And so
Yeah.
not a
If I'm
single
doing
lesbian
this-
at that CrossFit.
Right.
That you know of. That you know
Yeah,
of.
you
I've
never
seen-
know.
I mean,
Could be hiding, you know. But-
it could be like me, but
Yeah, exactly. So
Probably
yeah, no,
are.
it was a crazy journey to meet Heidi at that time and just like see like I'm like something is being reflected at me, and I'm not sure what I'm glomming onto here, but I was just so excited to like meet a gay person of any kind who was a woman.
Yeah.
And then in telling that story, like I think I was sort of grappling with it while we were telling it, but just keeping it so locked down, like not even interacting with it on a real way in any. I was like, oh, can I say bisexual? Is that a
Right.
word I can use? Like, it was.
Do I have permission? Who do I need to talk to
Yeah.
about this?
Like, I grew up in Toronto. It's not like I was like a weird, like, you know, in the middle of nowhere. Like, I had
Right.
access to all these people, but I was just so afraid of it myself, in myself.
But were you feeling like, so you're meeting her, but did you kind of knew there was something, but you weren't necessarily saying I'm attracted to women at this stage?
No,
You're
not,
just
not,
kind of
like,
like,
I think there
or
was,
even acknowledging it
was something-
internally.
Yeah, it was like something in the back of my brain that I always felt like in another life. Oh, in
Yeah.
another life, I'll
Yeah,
be gay.
so
In
common.
another life,
Right.
I'll meet the person, woman, whatever, and I won't live a straight life. But at the time, like I think I was 4 years into, you know, my current relationship at that time, and it was with a very straight man, and like I just was like, oh, this isn't for me. Like I'll live my whole life with this man, and then another version of myself
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
live this gay life. Mhm.
Right.
I had the same thought, and I think
Wow.
Glennon Doyle said the same thing in her book
Yeah.
Untamed. She was like, "What other life? Like, when
This
do
is
we
it.
get this other life? Like, how do we know?"
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
even
And then
had
I guess you
people-
just make your other life, you
Or
know?
we've had
Right.
people describe like they hope like a woman's going to show up and pull them out of their life, like something
Yes.
so compelling that it's like I
Yeah.
can't stay.
Mhm.
You know, like I'm going to go on with this great guy, the Boy Scout, and we're going to have this life until this compelling thing happens.
Yes. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
and sometimes it never does if you're not open to it.
And I think that's the huge, like, I never saw, this was a huge thing in terms of what the content I want to create going forward is like, I never saw the women and people that I am attracted to on screen. It was always
Yeah.
very
100%.
like, I like sort of like androgynous or slightly more masc-leaning people and women. And like, so me seeing highly feminized women in a lot of these like period pieces or lesbian dramas or whatever, like I was finding it really hard to even see that growing up. I didn't even know people like that exist. Like I think Boys Don't Cry was the first time that I was like, what's happening in my body?
Right.
And
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why do I like this? Like, yeah, really, really just was never seeing it. So I think you need to see it to know it sometimes.
For sure.
Absolutely. And not really
Yeah.
seeing people like, it felt like everything that I saw on TV, people knew when they were a teenager.
Yeah.
And that was like not me. Like I didn't know it all. And so I thought it was like impossible to be realizing this later in life.
Yes.
Or
So-
even
I felt
just
the
it was
exact same way.
shameful. Like what you did see wasn't like, oh my God, how awesome she's gay.
Right.
It's more
It
like,
wasn't
oh my
celebrated.
God, look what just happened to her. Quiet,
Yeah.
hush, hush, shame.
Yeah. It always ends in tragedy. And
Yeah.
like, I'm like, I want to create queer joy. Like that is so important to
Oh,
me.
I love queer joy. That's such a cool way
queer
to
joy.
look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we
true.
need to see that. We need to see that we can live happy, fulfilled lives and not, be hiding in the corners or, on some rocky shore in Britain,
Yeah. That is why I always it almost is I don't like hearing in the closet, or it embarrasses me when people are like, oh, when did you come out of the closet? It makes me feel I don't know, you're so pathetic that you're hiding away somewhere. I still feel that. When it comes up for me. So I get that.
Yeah. There's a lot of internalized homophobia that I still grapple with.
Right.
Which I was sort of surprised by, because I was always such an ally to people. If I would see, I was the weirdo that if I would see a gay couple walking on the street, I would just smile really awkwardly at them. And they're probably
you.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Oh my God.
But,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, I think that there's a huge part of that it wasn't even for me. It didn't feel I'm coming out. It felt oh, this is me.
Yeah.
And it was this joyful, there was lots going on, but inside I was everybody, look, I found myself. That's how it felt.
Right.
Rather than, I need to tell you all something.
Yeah. See, mine was dark secret. I feel I like that.
Well, it's kind of it starts as a dark secret.
Yeah.
And then
it does.
It goes into this happy of,
queer
like
joy.
you said, you
Queer
finally
joy.
feel like yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Was there though a certain person that lit?
Yeah, I was going to say, what kind of pushed you out of the nest here?
Yeah.
Yeah. My current partner, which
there was someone.
There was someone. But again, it was someone I was circling on Instagram. I was seeing this group of queer female filmmakers in Toronto, and I was who are these people, and how have they all found each other?
Yeah.
And how do I get into that? And while I was in this kind of rabbit hole of how do I meet these people, an image of my current partner popped up, and it was literally one of those oh, that person, and it was totally I was just I need to meet that person.
Wow.
And I had never felt like that about anybody, but they were with somebody at the time, and I was oh, they seem so happy, and they were, and I was just I guess it's not for me, but someone like that maybe sometime in another life.
In another life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then fast forward, I don't know, a year or two later, and that relationship had ended, and I met them with work stuff. And I completely dissolved. I was I have no bones in my body. I can't speak properly. I'm a, very straightforward person. And especially with men, I'm no, I'm controlling this situation.
Yeah.
And with we laugh about it now, because they were yeah, I could watch you just dissolve in your chair.
And that had never happened before.
Oh my God, no. And
that's
the thing. I was I couldn't speak. I was I was
oh my God, where do I put my hands? Yeah.
I had my MacBook in the meeting, and the little rainbow circle of death that you get,
yes.
the whole it was on the fritz. I was freaking out. I was just pull your shit together, Perrie.
Oh my God.
But
did you
I still
have friends
left that
standing there? I'm trying to get a visual. Were you there alone?
I was there alone.
Person? Okay, so you were at least spiraling. I'd rather be alone than have Melissa standing there being what
watching it unfold
wrong with you?
Well, except that if they're there's no buffer, so it was just me.
Oh yeah.
And it's I'm trying to be cool because they seem so cool, and I was, oh my God. And
it's your one shot. It's not you. Yeah, it's God, I'm screwing this up.
Really shitting the bed.
Yeah.
But I guess it ended up working out.
It worked out, not immediately, but because I was oh, I'm gonna be this person's bro, and we're gonna go get beer, and we're gonna shoot the shit, and I'll
throw it up.
I'm gonna throw it up. I'm gonna buy them a pitcher.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
And yeah, and I sent them a text, and they never replied.
Clearly,
to it. I was you should grab a beer.
That's what you went in with?
It was what I went in with.
Oh my God, know your audience.
Because we
might
we
as
were
well
gonna be
have
best
added
friends.
bro.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, so they ended up coming on to work on Avocado Toast as a huge favor because they're a director and cinematographer, and our camera assistant had to leave halfway through the shoot. And
conveniently,
because I was like, I think you should have just been doing this all along. Like,
this is the universe helping you.
I know,
out.
right?
Exactly. So the sparks flew on set, and the rest was history. There was a little blip in there.
But you kind of got to redeem yourself, because then they showed up at your power plant. It's like, this is where I'm in control.
Yeah, this is my show.
This is how I really am.
Like, that's really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
That helped me out a lot. Like, I really, I was able to just be like, your crew, and I'm the producer.
Exactly.
And the
your
star.
stock shot way up. Exactly.
Yeah. So it definitely, I think I redeemed myself after a while. But.
How long ago was that?
That was when we first met. I think it was like September 2019 or something like that. So right before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And then the show shot November, December, and so we were, we were like getting to know each other a bit better during that time. So yeah.
And now you've been together a little bit. Like, it's been a few years.
Yeah, we started dating sort of like January, like this kind of after Christmas. And then they were heartbroken from their previous relationship, and
in swoops Perrie.
Pardon me?
In swoops Perrie.
Yeah. And it was like they were like, no, I can't do anything serious. And I was like, okay, but then we were immediately falling for each other. Like, it was just so instant. So I think we were both kind of like, whoa. And they were trying really hard to be polyamorous, and I was like, I can't, like, this is too much. I'm grappling with my own sexuality. I'm falling in love with you. Like, I can't
share right now.
I can't do this. Like, I need all of you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So we broke up for like, I guess like February to like May, June, and then we've been together ever since that June. We got back together on Pride weekend, and like in the pandemic,
sweet.
Which was really cute.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. What was
kismet.
the like turning point?
Well, apparently, like they came to Calgary because we were living in Toronto, and they came to Calgary to visit their family, and then got stuck in Calgary because the pandemic, like everything obviously just shut down, and no one flights, and then they said they just missed me, and they called me or texted me one day, and we just sort of slowly started talking, and then we did a Zoom call, and they were like, I miss you. And I was like, oh no.
Oh no. It starts.
Yeah.
And I guess that was kind of tough too, because like pandemic, you guys were really shut down. Like,
oh my God.
Atlanta was very like, like,
do it if you
fine.
Want. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's nice.
I mean, it was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah, how did you guys kind of like work around that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a crazy way of dating somebody, because like I'm used to going to a bar or a restaurant, and then you sleep over or go home, and then like maybe a few days later, but we just ended up like just a continual date. We didn't really, and it would just be like we're hanging at each other's house, or we're going for a walk, or we're it was just, I've never experienced that where it was just like really hunkered down, and
you get to know each other probably really well.
Yeah, oh my God, like we would have known pretty quickly if it wasn't a match, because we only had each other, and like no distractions of friends or other people at bars or whatever. So it was kind of wild how intimate it felt, but also just like easy. Like it just was like, oh, you're my best friend, no problem,
like effortless.
Now, during that like in between time when you were broken up, did you date anyone else during that time? Like,
oh man, I wanted to, because that's how I usually operate when I'm hurt. Like I'm like, I want to go out. I want to like meet people, even if it's just a flirt. Like I want to just like validate myself.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, because we broke up right before the pandemic hit, like I'm like a month before. And, so I think the closest I got was going on Hinge and like starting to enter my information. And then I just felt like I don't know. I was like, oh, that's too personal. Like, I'm not ready to give that information. Like, we should go for dinner first. Like, I just felt very, violated.
Do it. Right.
Yeah. And so it was like a very lonely, that was probably the darkest time for me because I lost my one queer person, which was Jay, the person I was dating. And like, I also, like, I didn't know anybody and I was so newly coming out that all my friends were straight. And
you wanted to experience this thing. You're excited
about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, where are all the people? I want to like, oh man, like if I could have gone to some of the queer bars or just even gone on walking dates with some people, but it just Toronto, there was like, it was illegal at that time to see people basically. So it was a lot of just like journaling and
that sounds tough.
It was really hard. And finding podcasts like yours and trying to realize that I'm not alone. And yeah, so it was a really hard time, that part of it.
I remember Melissa kind of trying to date during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And like one thing she said that I thought was so interesting is she's like, if you go on a date that's like a normal non-pandemic date, it's like immediately I'm on a date with you, so I'm kind of affectionate, or it's clear that I'm trying to like romantically be with you. But and I've had a partner now for a while, so I didn't have, during the pandemic, I was settled in. But I remember saying you would meet these women, and it's like I'm not allowed to really hug you. So
we would
friends.
like meet each other, not hug, go on a walk, and like sit on a park bench and literally be on like opposite sides of the bench.
So
masks on, so you can't like see people's facial expressions. Like it was just like hard to read anybody.
Yeah, it's like
during that time. So
because I realized too that I was like, even if I went ahead with this Hinge profile, if I got the guts up to actually fill it out, I'm like, what would I do? Like online flirt with people? Like I'm 16
we gonna get on
again?
Zooms?
Like,
I know.
Yeah, like what am I? Yeah, I want like physical. I want to be in physical space with people. That was the whole thing. I wanted to like vibe people, and because it was so new to me, I was like, I need to feel people's energies to know what the hell's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
It must have been weird, like the half half face.
Yeah, it was bizarre for sure.
Yeah.
And it was also just hard to even convince anyone like it was okay to meet up. Like if we go for a walk outside, like and we keep our distance, like it's not bad.
Yeah.
I can't imagine with Toronto, it's like illegal to do anything.
Yeah. I would go for a walk every day and like, I was like, oh my God, is someone going to stop me? Like because there was a time in like the early part of 2020 that it was like, you couldn't really go out. Like you really had to actually stay home. And so I'm just like, I don't know what I would have done like if I don't know, could you get arrested? I don't know.
And now would you say you have lots of queer friends? Like you have good community?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate. Like my partner knew a lot, but also I think I just embraced people who were already bi, but I wasn't like acknowledging that side of their personality. Maybe when I was identifying as straight, like I was like, oh, you're just my friend and sometimes you're bi. Like I think I just absorbed all of the queerness of everybody. And there's the queer female and non-binary community in Toronto, I think is a really tight knit one. Like it's actually kind of cool. So I've met some really amazing creative people that I continue to like do projects with or just hang out, and just some of the most generous, like my relationships with women changed during this because I was seeing how generous, because I don't know, there's something about like straight women that can be so catty and closed off and mean sometimes.
Right. And shallow.
Yeah. And I never I was like, I want to just be friends with guys a lot because I'm just like, you guys feel a little bit safer and easier. And now queer women, I'm like, oh, that was the thing. I just needed to be friends with some more queer women.
And sometimes though I second guess, I'm like, maybe it was me, like, because maybe I wasn't authentic, so it felt inauthentic back then. And maybe they're great. I don't know. Like looking back, it's like, I do say that. Like we have dinner parties now and the conversations are so good and they're like so much more than just small talk now. It's like, there's so much depth to my female friendships.
That's so cool. Yeah. And I agree with that. Like there is something that I was trying to fit into some version of what a straight girlfriend is.
Same.
So I definitely like, I feel more myself now than I ever did, but I also think that must be like, people must be seeing that as well. Like I probably had a wall up that I wasn't even necessarily aware of. And I'm like, I'm so nice. Like, why are people
what's wrong with
dicks?
you?
Like, yeah, exactly.
It's true. I feel that way for sure now. And even like when I go back to I have a few that like nobody, I sometimes say, and like Melissa and I will say, no one really left me because I came out. It was more like that space that I had for them got filled, and like some of those friendships went away, and it was nobody's really fault. It's more just like that was a season of my life, and now this new season has brought new people. I don't know. Is that what you would like, Melissa? We've sort of talked about how there's like a void.
Like, there's definitely some people that I don't really talk to as much anymore. I still stay in touch with like my very best straight friends.
Yeah.
But they're the ones that I have authentic conversations with,
right.
and I always have.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like there's some things where if it's someone that like from my gym that's just like having a random like pool party, I'm like, I just don't really want to go. Like, I just don't feel like
make conversation.
Right
yeah.
It's like to be like surface level. Like, what sports are your kids playing right now? Like,
I
don't know. It's just like
break.
not interesting to me.
Yeah.
That I don't want to spend my like bandwidth on it.
No,
totally. I get that.
Isn't enough.
Yeah.
Well, so your parents were getting divorced, and then did you feel like I can't now layer this in to this other family drama?
Well, I think it's funny. Like, so the two things happened a few years apart.
Okay.
Like 2 or 3 years. Oh my gosh, no, it wouldn't have. I guess the initial divorce, like 3 years apart, which is crazy because I see them as so separate. So it's kind of wild that it's actually closer than I thought.
And the mom on the show, is like brilliant. Oh my God. Like I laugh out loud at her. Yeah.
I love her so much. Brenda, she's just phenomenal. I love her so much. But yeah, no, I felt like I said, I was like, oh, I want to tell people, like that I found myself finally, like this makes sense. And, and I think I mentioned this to you guys when we were chatting before, but I was like, it would have just been so much easier for me to say, oh, I'm bi, but that was just never fitting. It was never fitting in my, like when you ask yourself a question, you're like, how does this feel? How does this feel? Like it just, bi never felt right. Pansexual never felt right. Like just not. And then I was lying in bed one night and the word gay just popped into my head. And it was like this relief just like swept over my body. And I burst into tears, but it wasn't like a sad thing. It was like a found myself thing, like my word.
Oh my God, I love that.
So and when I realized that, I was like, well, now I need to tell my mom. Like I have to tell, like it's the first person I want to tell. And I'm so excited about this information. And I was a bit nervous to tell my dad, because he comes from like a Dutch Calvinist background that he's let go of, but it was, I don't know. It's just that formulative thought process, of just like, what does he retain in terms of any homophobia or whatever. But I actually found it a lot easier to tell my dad. And it was actually really tricky and troubling to tell my mom. And so it was the exact reverse. It was kind of crazy. Like my mom really got her back up right away and was kind of like, well, you're not gay, you're bi. And I was like, no, I've done the thought process. Mom.
I've already thought about that.
I've done that work,
I've done that work.
Yeah. So it was a bit shocking to me, just her reaction. And you can't, I think that I probably could have been a little bit more gentle about how I did it, but I don't know. I was just so excited about it. I didn't think that it was.
This was in person that you told her?
It was in person.
Oh my God.
It was right before the pandemic. So it was, and my dad too. Like I kind of just I was using they, them pronouns when I was talking about my partner, because they do use they, them pronouns. And at one point he just stopped me in the conversation and he was like, you keep saying they, is it not a man? And I was like, no, it is not. And he was just like, okay, all right. Do you want more wine? Like he was just
right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was so interesting. And like I was just like, oh, you don't have a problem? Like there's no, I don't know. It was just very, very surprising.
Were they understanding? Like my parents wouldn't have understood the they, them pronouns. Probably I would have had to explain that. Mm-hmm. Were they already that progressive? Like that they knew when you said, did they get it right away?
No.
Okay.
I think I think my dad was like, okay, I've heard of that.
Okay.
And at the time they were using she, they. So I was like, they use both.
Okay.
And now they
Mhm.
just use they. And so he was kind of like, okay, I can kind of see both sides of that. But my mom, like it took, just like with my sexuality, where she was like, I just never saw it. I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
There's not a prize if you did see it.
Who were you closer to growing up? Like, who do you feel like you are more like, I guess?
That's a great question. I think I had my time with both of them. Like I would consider myself a daddy's girl. But then he had an affair. So I was like,
right.
I don't know, like Satan. Like I was just, I'm like, I can't talk to you. So it took a while for me to kind of heal that wound with him. But my mom and I also had like a really close relationship, especially when I was in like early high school. Like we go on shopping trips, and like I felt super connected with her. But I think as I got older, that relationship waned, and then my dad and I got really close again. So yeah, it's been a bit of both, depending on I think what season of my life I've been in. But I think personality wise, I'm a bit more like my dad. Like I'm a bit more fiery and kind of go after what I want. And really, really, emotional up and downs and all the fun that goes with being, that kind of personality. But yeah.
I love even though that you were excited to tell them. Like we talked about how that was our worst. I dreaded that.
I know.
I didn't.
I was like, how can I not
more than
tell
my
them?
ex-husband. It was like my parents were the worst. But they ended up being so lovely, and kind of like what you said, I thought my dad would be the hardest, and he turned out to be like the coolest about it.
Wow.
So it is interesting how, like, what you expect. I think I underestimated them massively.
Yeah.
I mean, I've told them that recently, that I just really underestimated their capacity to, like, love me above what it looked like, because we do have such a big family, and, I have children, and they love my ex-husband. I mean, there were so many layers to their grieving process that I just felt like they were going to be really tough, and they weren't.
Yeah. That's been a huge understanding thing for me as well, just listening to, your podcast and other coming out queer podcasts. But it's like understanding that for people that you're telling, like your family, that there is a grieving process involved with that as well.
Totally.
And I just never considered that side of it. Like I just thought, oh, but wouldn't you be excited to get to know the authentic me that I've been unaware
hiding.
of?
Right. Or not hiding even, didn't even know.
They do it's like you have to allow them to like digest it. And honestly, like when I told my parents, or my sister told my parents, I thought I gave her permission to tell them.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was going to be like a long time before I heard anything from them. And they texted me that same day. Now it was a few days before we actually like spoke and saw each other in person and stuff, but they did respond way more positive than I ever could have imagined.
That's amazing.
So it is kind of like you get psyched up in your head about it, and then they surprise you. Or sometimes people do, like they need time to just digest it and think about it and kind of grieve the version of you that they thought they were going to see. Yeah.
Which I think I still grapple with, maybe even with myself. Like maybe that's something that I'm still I'm like, actually, how did I not know? And I think it is that representation thing that I was talking about, where I had all these gay guy friends, and I in high school, I'm like, oh, the gay guys are so sweet and blah, blah, blah. But I never, like, I didn't know lesbians in my high school. Like I never met a lesbian. And if they were like ostracized.
Totally.
Like they were like, oh, she's a lesbian. Like that kind of bullshit. So yeah, it was like, I needed time to kind of grieve that I never saw that in myself, and how betraying that felt to my authenticity. And then my mom, like, she's getting better now, but it was a long time that like every time we would get together, she would want to bring it up and ask questions, which I think is a good thing, but it would kind of negate me in a way. Like I just felt
like she's questioning you on your decision, kind of.
Yeah. Like if I didn't see it, like how like none of us saw it. Like it was just one of those things that at some point I told myself that it wasn't okay to feel any of this. So I just shut it down. So of course nobody else is going to recognize it. But yeah, there's a grieving process there, I think, for everybody.
And now, would you say they're 100%? Like it's not even an issue. You can show up with your partner and it's a non-event.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. I think in some ways, I think my mom likes my partner more than me sometimes. Like we joke about that I'm like, because they're just so lovely that I'm like, okay, I get it. Like Jay's the best, I know.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, like it's not even an issue. And yeah, they're just so happy that I found someone who loves me as much as they do, and like the connection that we have is I think those like aspirational connections that I used to see and be like, oh, why can't I have that?
Yeah.
Because you're looking at the wrong gender.
Right. Yeah. And that's what you want to tell people that too, that are
Exactly.
like in group. I remember feeling that way of like these people in our group that were, they would say like, I'm never actually going to do it. I'm just here for support, and I'm staying in my marriage, or I'm staying with this guy. And I remember thinking like there's something so like, everybody has to make their choice, and there is a big price to admission, but I felt so sad for that, because it's like that
They
feeling.
never get to experience
Yeah, they
that
never get
joy.
to experience it. Queer joy.
Queer joy.
Yeah,
Queer
exactly. They can just like
Yeah.
dream about it, to your point, like watching movies. Like, oh, why can't that happen to me? But it can.
It can.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. I'm wondering, can I ask you guys a question? I'm curious, just because this is something like just talking about the type of queer we identify as, and where that falls in the spectrum. And because I think if I'm remembering correctly from what I know about you guys, that you guys only dated men previous to kind of realizing that you're gay, or so how did that, like, because that's the thing that I grappled with the most in my silent pandemic spiraling, that I was like, how do I know this so truly down to my core, that I'm like gay, lesbian, queer, like I'm not like how did that come up for you guys?
So for me, it took me kind of like, because at first I did identify as bisexual, like, because that just made sense.
Yeah.
And it's not like when I dated men, I was like repulsed by men. Like I found them attractive. I found them funny, smart, whatever.
Yeah.
But I kind of realized that those were more of the qualities that I was attracted to, was like the personality, the really like funny, outgoing guy. And then I also kind of started to realize that attraction is on a bit of a spectrum. Like as far as like, you can look at someone and think that's an attractive man, but like how far along that spectrum do you want to go, like in a relationship or intimately with that man?
Yes.
And for me, it's like kissing would be like, okay. But like, if I was really, truly honest with myself, anytime I was with a man, I really didn't want it to go any farther.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of like me dissecting like how I felt with men, and like how much I relied on alcohol when I was with a man. And then once I had an experience with a woman and realizing like, I can do this stone cold sober.
I want to.
And I want to. I want to do it. This isn't like it's your birthday.
No, this
is doing you a favor here.
Not your birthday.
Like, I want to do it. And so I think it also took me reflecting back on like all the things that I felt about like who a lesbian is, and like what a lesbian looks like and how they act, and like dissecting all the stereotypes that were in my head, and removing that. And removing that like internalized homophobia to like kind of realize that it was like okay for me to be gay, be lesbian, like, you know, bisexual felt like safe, you know?
Yes.
Like
I get that.
Like it's safe to say, and you're not going to like be made fun of about it. But
What
for
is
me
it
to
about
be
me,
like,
though, that
I'm a
I
lesbian,
think
I felt like I was in middle school again, being like,
bisexual to
setting
me
myself up for
seems even
bullying.
scarier.
Yeah.
Like, I disagree. Like, I don't, like, if somebody says they're bisexual, or if someone says they're a lesbian, to me, and this is my own homophobia, but it's almost like bisexual is far scarier. Like, I would never have been able to say that to my parents.
That is really interesting.
Wow,
like,
interesting. Does it feel like slutty or something?
It feels like deviant. Like, what the hell?
Deviant.
You'll just do it with anyone, I guess.
Anyone will do.
Just really want to do it.
I get
like
that.
Allie's just got a line out the door on Friday night.
So that to me felt far more deviant.
Interesting.
But unlike Melissa, I knew even when I was little, but I was like Catholic, raised very conservative, went to Catholic school. Like, it was never going to be an option. Like, I wanted the babies, the Boy Scout, the marriage. I wanted all of that. And it was so ingrained in me that even though inside I knew like I was attracted to my friends, or I would have these crushes all along, it would never have been compelling enough to give up the babies and the guy and the life. So I just went and did all the things I was expected, like all the way through. Check the box. And until the compelling catalyst showed up.
Yeah.
So
I also had like a wall up when it came to like female friends. There's no way I would have allowed myself to be attracted to a female friend.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Like anytime someone would like grab my hand at the bar, like something like that, if we're like going through the crowd, I'd be like, "Why are you touching me?" Like,
really? See, I would be like excited.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, like I even remember one of my good friends, she's still a good friend, but like I would say probably we were kind of having an emotional affair. Like I loved her. I would have loved it if we would have like left our husbands and been together. Like in my fantasy mind, but we had babies at the same time. Like we were friends. We were grocery shopping. We were doing life as moms, but in my head, my dream world, it's like someday we'll run in the other life, we would have run off together. But anyway,
I love hearing that because I genuinely voice noted a friend of mine who also is a bit later in life realizing that she's gay, and so we've connected kind of in the same way that you guys did in that group. And she, I don't know, she was talking about a friend of hers that comes over and they make dinner, and then they just snuggle and they sleep in the same bed, but she's not attracted to her. And I was like, oh my God, like. I kept my everything just so like I was like don't like if somebody had their head on my shoulder I was like just don't move just don't
breathe don't make any sudden movements.
Oh my God. And like if I touched them like I was like okay that's enough touching and we're gonna move on. Like I was
that's exactly how I was 100%.
That's so cool. Yeah. And I'm envious of those kind of like amorphous relationships that just are like, and then we're on the couch and we're cuddling and we're making like I'm just like, oh my God,
I don't know though if like I'll never know, but like I don't know. I remember one time like her husband, I called there and her husband was like, your girlfriend's on the phone and like joking. But I'm like, oh my God, even he knows we're together. Like,
I'm her girlfriend.
But I don't think I don't know that she thought it the same way I did.
Right.
Like she was, I don't know. I don't think, I doubt
someone
it
you're
highly.
still friends with today?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But now I don't feel that way. Isn't that right? Like I don't see her that way anymore.
Yeah. It's almost like a practice person.
Yeah, she was a practice person.
That you feel close enough that there's a connection beyond friendship, but it's
totally.
not, I don't know, something. Looking back at a lot of my friendships, like I was so jealous, and if they hung out with another girl, I was like, "Why? Why are you hanging out with
yes. That would be us.
We're friends.
You're
you
my
and me.
friend.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Totally. That was our
hilarious.
friendship. There would be these jealous fights, and totally.
Wow.
But I'll have
That's
to
so
someday when I'm like have had a lot to drink, I'll ask her if I was alone in that crush.
Oh, but, I have to know that story.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Can you do this tonight?
Can you do
it is Friday.
Exactly. Yeah. She did kiss me once.
What?
Just like not a big deal kiss, like a nothing kiss. Like we're at a concert and
that's kind of like what my friend did to me.
Yes.
When
really?
I was like 19, a friend of mine kissed me.
But yours is gay.
But she's bisexual now.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The thing is, like, when that happened, it was so like uneventful in my mind. It was such a heck, and I was like, not gay.
Yeah, I can check it off.
I used that data for the next 20 years.
Data point. Exactly. It's so true.
I was similar. Like any dalliance that I had that was like involved with a woman sexually, I was like, oh, but I didn't feel that.
No.
Right.
Not gay.
Like as if every interaction with a man was completely like, I'm like, what? Like,
I hate when my friends touch me, so that means I'm not gay.
Oh my God.
Meanwhile, I'm frozen in fear.
It's true.
Don't show the gay. Don't show the gay.
So true. Well, we did have a friend, though, one of our good friends who like never had an experience, left her marriage of 20 years, never had one experience with a woman, only had a sexual dream about a woman, left it all behind, like decided she was gay after this dream. And then left him and is gay. Wow. But I remember, like, to your point of, like, how do you know for sure? Because after she came out, we met her in group. she did have like her first, as you would say, dalliance. And she was like, it was kind of like I didn't feel anything. And I thought, oh my God, are you freaking out? Like you left him. And now it's like you
Pull the plug.
did it. It's too late. And you didn't know. Like at least I knew I had done it. And but she was like, no, I still know. Like, I still know I'm gay. That dream must have been compelling as hell.
That must have been an amazing dream.
It did involve a shower.
I'm like trying to think. I'm like, is she just really good at making decisions? Because
I am not good at making decisions.
Like,
no.
Which couch I've bought for
I know.
like 6 months. Like,
I think this feels right. Does it feel right? I think it feels right.
Yeah, totally. And then reanalyze it again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Do you ever have feeling like how did you ever have like sometimes after Melissa and I left, we would be like, holy shit, like are you okay? Like, I don't know. Like, are we all right? Like, did we do the right thing?
Did we do this?
Did we do this? Like, because we were on parallel paths the whole time, Melissa and I. And like,
literally signed our divorce papers within like what, a couple of weeks of each other?
Totally. And there were moments of like, blow up where it's like fucking A, like is it too late to go back? Like what have we done? More because I think we were both scared and like starting over.
Well, we also were both like when we said we were on similar paths, like literally like when we first talked about like the women that we were dating at the time, we were literally like, are we dating the same person? Because like they were acting the same way.
We were basically we were like abused housewives.
Okay. There's like a little bit of emotional abuse happening.
Okay.
And we both have these safe guys, these sweetheart husbands, and then we're thrown in with these like hard fucking women that are like every weekend is like you're so stressed. No. So I think that's more what it was. Not that we're not gay.
Yeah.
It was
that
just like
sense.
We were leaving where I hadn't been in a fight in years. And then I'm with this woman and I'm like, why are we fighting about this? Like, is this what life is like?
Yeah, this is it now. Yeah, did you ever have feelings like that where you're like, what have I done?
Not in that way. It was actually a little bit wild because my ex and I broke up while we were shooting the first season of our show, but we did it kind of quietly, like behind the scenes, because like I couldn't let that distract me. Like we were in the middle of production. I've been working for 3 years to make this show. I'm like, I just need to. Can we just shelve this?
Yeah.
But then what happened is we had already signed a lease on a new place, and we had
you and the boy.
Me and the boy had to move into we literally like finished production. I went straight into editing it because I was editing the first season with a friend of mine. So I was in edits all day, like 8 hours a day or whatever. And we had to move right after Christmas because there's just no time. Like I think we wrapped like December 6th or something. And then it was like right into edits. And then we were and I was like, I don't have time. And my parents, like my dad doesn't live in the city anymore. My mom lived in a condo. Like there was nowhere for me to go.
Oh my God.
So I was like, let me just pack up my stuff, get it into the new place, and then I'll figure it out in the new year. And then the pandemic hit.
Oh, shit.
So we ended up living together in a 2-bedroom house in Toronto for a year.
And he knew what was kind of going on.
He knew what was going on. Like I'd come out to him. There was no part, like this is the crazy thing that like, I always heard about people living with their exes for a short amount of time. And I was like, you are insane.
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah,
And
what
I
are you
left,
doing?
Left secretly in the night with other relationships. Like I never imagined that this was ever going to be my life.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I had ever had any regrets, the ease would have been me going across the hall and being like, I miss you. Like, so it was like a hard lesson of just like, no, I do not want that person
there. And
he's right there. And we see each other every day. And like, we make coffee right beside, like, he's like a brother. Like,
yeah,
really
I know. Don't you look
weird.
back and you're like, I can't believe I had sex with you.
Yes.
Like
I know. About. Like
it's
there
like,
was something
what?
in my brain. Like once everything clicked, and I was like, oh, this kind of feels like my brother now. Like,
I know it is. I know.
Yes.
Even Maria we'll be with him, and she'll be like, I can't believe you slept with him for that long. Like, she's like, it's hard for me to even like watch this.
Oh, I know.
Like she's like, it's really uncomfortable.
It's so it's like I see photos of us together now, and I'm like, but like he's very handsome and like we were a nice looking couple, but I was just like, what? Like, it just, I can't even feel it in my body anymore. Like it's a completely different person. I am a completely different person to myself.
I think that's just
wild.
it. It's like you are a different person now.
There's nothing wrong with him.
That's just it. There's nothing wrong with him.
It's you. You're the problem.
Right. I am the problem.
We're all the problem. We're all the problem.
But you were also having queer joy. So I think you were also like in this happy, oh my God, I'm going to have sex with women. I'm excited. I can't wait to announce it. I think we were in the dark of like bawling in therapy and then hoping maybe like we didn't have really queer joy.
Like, like I love that it can be like a joyous
Me
experience.
too. Like how can we spread that message?
And I will say like I think it's been a happy ending for me because of how we got back together and all of that. But there were, like I said, when they were like, no, I need to be poly, and I was like, I can't handle this. That was like a low point for me in my entire life.
Sure.
Because that wasn't making me question my sexuality. It was making me upset that like this person that I knew into my core that I'm meant to be with can't be with me right now. And it just felt like, what is wrong with you?
Or
like,
did you feel like I'm not enough? Like I'm not enough.
It was all of that.
Yeah.
I was like, what more do you want? Like everything, like we are so obviously meant to be together. And it was their heartbreak that just was like, they were resisting kind of going in. And I completely understand that. But there were, a couple months after that I was like, well, what the fuck am I going to do? Because that person's gone.
Yeah. And I kind of blew it all up for this person.
Yeah. And exactly. And then I was the one that broke up with them because I was like, I can't do this to myself. Like I'm going through too much internally to also handle being like your heartbreak and the polyamory and stuff. So then I did it again. I like blew up this thing that was like in every other way feeling so good.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, now who am I going to date? Because I didn't even know who my type was. I just knew that person was my person.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just felt really kind of out to sea. Like now I can be like, okay, I think I like a sporty gay. I like, kind of a, like I can kind of pinpoint it. But at the time, I didn't even know where to begin. Like I was like, I don't even know how to start like inputting my likes and dislikes into the dating apps. Like I just don't know. And so that was really scary for me. Like that felt like, now what am I going to do? Like I know I don't want to date men, but I don't even know what type of person I want to date. So,
and even if I did, it's like sometimes like I was so hung up on my catalyst, it took a while to shake that to even make space for the new. Like
that's so interesting.
It's just like you've got this person who seemed to fill everything you thought you wanted. Even with the abuse.
Minus the emotional
abuse.
Minus that. It's so funny because I remember, the things that I can't be gay because X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Like you make the little chart for yourself. And I remember one of the things, like when I was in high school, I was like, well, I couldn't possibly date a woman because women are drama. Like they're just, they cause all this
too,
and I never, other than like the drama that was surrounding, our relationship in the beginning, there wasn't really any drama. Like that was the thing. I was like, actually, this feels easier because we're just communicating better.
Right.
Like, that is key.
Exactly. Like there's no guesswork here. It's just, I'm upset, you're upset. Let's talk about it. Like, yeah.
Is the poly, like, I'm thinking of myself, like, does it come up for you where you're like, not insecure about it, but just like maybe this person's going to decide they need to explore that or like, do you feel like that's done?
Yeah, that it's like we talked about it sort of when we got back together and they were still sort of feeling that. But as soon as we like actually fell in love, that was kind of it for both of us. And there is this, like, I talk openly about like, I missed the like opportunity to like date some assholes, like
right.
play the field and see
get some new stories in there.
Yeah.
But and they were like, well, look, if you want, I'm like, no, I don't actually want to go do that. But
exactly.
I don't need any more emotional damage.
Exactly.
The men did a number.
The pandemic was enough.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
Isolation.
Yeah. So there's a part of me that like, I don't know. I'm like sometimes, but I don't know. I think I would have to meet someone like really special for it to even be on the table. And for them, yeah, the as far as right now, you know, in May 12th, 2023, the door is closed on that as well. But yeah, it was a tough nut to swallow for sure in the beginning. For my personality, I'm very possessive in a healthy way. Like I just like
that's how I'm a Scorpio, so
okay.
I don't share.
Yeah.
I get that. I'm an Aries, but I don't know if we share. I think we're pretty dominant in terms of
I think it creates an insecurity because I can't imagine like waiting at home while Maria's out on a date.
Oh my
God. My head would explode.
Oh,
I'd be showing up there. I always say I'd be flipping tables. I'd be coming in.
She just walk in the restaurant and start flipping
the tables. What are you doing?
I need a table to flip.
Exactly. I would be a crazy person.
Oh my. Well, even like when we were just like baby new dating, like a month in, and they were like, I have a date. Like I was just like, I was just completely, I couldn't handle it. Like I would implode.
Right.
And, you know, they were with someone when we had broken up and I was just like, I can't do this. Like the images are just stronger than probably what's even happening. And I just can't. I can't
your head,
go there.
It's like...
Oh my God, it's like mayhem in my head.
Yeah,
like a orgy.
What do you guys fight about?
Ooh, what do we fight about? We don't fight a lot. It's usually just like stupid little shit. Like I'm like the other day, I was like, they had 2 empty water glasses next to their side of the bed. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why wouldn't you take one water glass into the kitchen? Like when you went and got that, like just exchange them. So it's just like bullshit like that. And then they got
minor thing on the planet.
And they got so upset. Like they were like, I don't know if I'm PMSing, but it just like really upset me. Like I'm never good enough. And I was like, okay.
Oh God.
So it's that kind of shit where we just spiral out.
Where you're a monster. I mean, it's that kind of shit where you're a monster.
Yeah. Exactly. So,
what were you saying?
Yeah, it's pretty low key. I think I'm like, what have we like most recently? Honestly, like it's like any jealousy or like past stuff that sometimes comes up from like me wanting to erase that chunk of time that we weren't together that just felt so hard for me. Like sometimes that's what I bring up, that I'm like, we need to work through this. Like we need to kind of close the door. Exactly. And I just feel sometimes like we talk about it too much, but it's stuff like that. Like we're actually like incredibly compatible and they're so ezy to get along with. Like, I think I'm the kind of up and down one and like, I have an issue with this. And they're like, okay, do you want to talk about it?
I'm definitely more like you. I'm like, who knows what's coming?
I want to talk about everything now. Whereas with men, I didn't want to talk about shit.
No. Yeah.
What would you say, Perrie, is your, like, Melissa and I talk about growth, like everybody has triggers and they're your trigger because of your childhood. Likely it's all like ties back. I know what mine are. But what would you say? Like for me, it's like abandonment is something that I have. I had a mother that was an alcoholic. She's amazing and doesn't ever drink anymore, but and has very much redeemed herself. But I still carry around, I think, that trauma, and it shows itself in, like, I do have abandonment. So if I see signs in my partner that feel like that, I'm like a lunatic. Yeah. And I know that about myself. So we've had therapy, and I can identify it before it comes. Like, what are yours? Everybody has them.
Yeah. One that came up that surprised me the other day is if someone doesn't think that I'm doing my best, because I think I'm doing my best all the time. Like I am trying my best all the time. So if anything, like if I'm being second guessed or undermined or being like, well, I did this because I didn't think you were doing it. And I was like, no, I was doing it.
Yeah.
Like it's that kind of thing that makes me feel like I hold myself to such a high standard that I'm like, if you hold me to a low standard, that just makes
it hurts me. Like it makes me think you think I'm not it's like, doing a good job and I'm not worthy.
Exactly. Like, just having me on a higher level of just understanding, I think. And then I'm pretty good with Jay because they're just so, we talk about everything, but I think in terms of like jealousy and betrayal and things like that for me, I'm off the cliff before someone can say don't jump. Like I'm just like already in the air. Like, let's fight about it. Like I have a lot of trust in terms of like whether or not someone's being 100% honest with me and,
Right.
and things like that. So that was a lot of the stuff that we were kind of arguing about in the beginning, just in terms of like, can I trust you? Can I put my faith in you? And yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like that, like for me, loyalty, if somebody says like, what do I number one quality I have in friends, work people, my relationship is loyalty. I care about that more than anything in everything, like show up for me in a loyal way. So that goes with the abandonment, but I'm sure that's it. It's like, can I trust you to have my back and not, in conversation, make it like you are on this show. It'd be really easy to be kind of not talk about your partner a lot. And but you do. It's clear you're with someone. So I don't know. That to me it's a loyal thing to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like living it and making you're not available. Like to me, there's something really, we talk about women that present that way and when they're with people, and I have women I meet that it's not obvious. And then you find out they have a partner, and I'm kind of like, all right, well, I'm going to keep an eye on that one.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like you can trust and you can't. So anyway.
It's so, I always want to talk about them, but it's funny, like when I was with my ex-boyfriend, like if I was ever with queer people, I did everything in my power to not mention the boyfriend.
Yes.
Like I always wanted, like
100%.
Yep.
Because I'm like, I am one of you. Exactly.
Yes. Keep the door open. Lifeboat it. That's future lifeboat.
Which again, I think was that like, other life possibly kind of thing.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love it. Well, we have now kept you double what we told you we were going to
I know,
keep
right?
you.
I didn't even notice. It went by in a flash.
Yeah, I feel like we way took advantage.
Not at all. This is so fun.
Thank you so much. And let's talk about Avocado Toast, because I want people to get to watch
Avocado
it.
Toast real quick. Let people know where they can find it.
Yeah. So there's 2 seasons that are out. It's 2 final seasons. There's no more than that. So if I don't know if the US gets out TV, but that's sort of where we have it in Canada, UK. And then in the States, I think you can watch it on Highball, or where are you guys watching?
I think I'm watching it on, is it possible I'm watching it on Amazon? Because I'm watching it on Amazon.
Amazon Prime and Apple TV. And so those kind of channels, it's a bit confusing depending on what region you're in, but you can find it if you can.
I Googled it and then it came up and you can see all the episodes.
Although Google Avocado Toast series.
The series,
otherwise it's just results for avocado toast recipes.
A lot of recipes.
I'm like, I didn't realize it was that hard to make avocado toast.
Avocado Toast. It is so funny. Like, I want everyone to know, like, I don't endorse that many shows. I have ADD. I can't sit through anything. This show is so good.
They're 15-minute episodes.
But it's like you can't stop because it's like now I got to know what happened. I love all the characters. They're all funny. The guy, I looked up his name today and now, of course, I can't remember it. But there's so many.
That guy?
Yes. But I don't know his real name.
Yeah. Christian Brune.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
He's amazing. He's
so
incredible.
Funny, but the girl who plays your mom or the woman who plays your mom is hysterical. Yeah. Like it's
Brenda
just
Robbins. Yeah.
It is so good. Like I want everyone to see it. And when you're gay and coming out and just like, to me, it's fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, and it's late. Everything that we're experiencing in that is late in life blooming across the board. Like my parents got divorced when I was 31 and like usually you're a bit younger and then coming out, as we all know, we came out later, but at the time it's like, why am I only figuring this out now? So I just think that there's something really relatable to everybody in going through these things later.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Surprisingly. Yeah.
Yes. So it's so good. And we'll post it on ours too, so that people know how to find it. But thank you, Perrie, for coming on.
Yes. Thank you.
You guys are the best. Thanks so much for having me. It was so fun.
Want to support the Lesbian Chronicles podcast? Rate us and write a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
We love listener feedback. If you'd like to share your story, email us at melissaandallie@gmail.com. That's Melissa, MELISA, and Allie, ALLI, @gmail.com. Or follow us on Instagram at Lesbian Chronicles.